But saying those examples are augmented reality, it's like saying this is a phone. That is totally true. This is a phone. And when this came out, it completely revolutionized how we all communicated with one another. But today, you expect probably 100 different things from what you call a phone than what this thing does. What AR is more something like this. So this is built on Lenovo's Mirage headset, compatible with many phones in partnership with Microsoft, and it's Disney's Star Wars Jedi Challenges. And in this example, I'm sure this little girl really does believe that she's a Jedi. She's been immersed in this environment. But of course, like everything, it's a spectrum. So that's super immersive AR, and some of those examples were a lot lighter. So what does today's technology, the stuff that you've all been reading about, that's all been in the press, what does it really mean? What is the difference? And to help explain that, I'm going to go right back to this definition. And actually, the simplest part of this definition is the last part, which is in real time using a device. So there's basically no misunderstanding about this. In order for something to be reality, it has to be in real time. And we do all have to use devices, whether they're in your pocket today, or whether they're full-on headset on your head, like the Lenovo example, or maybe even a chip in your brain, which I also read is apparently happening. Scary, but cool. That's still a device. So this part's easy. But now getting into the integration of digital information. This part can be a little bit more nuanced. And to explain the difference between the technology that's available today versus what's sort of been around for a while, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. And the first example is going to use more prevalent AR light type technology. You can see this is a photo filter, and you have an adorable panda next to the girl. It's a little, maybe you want it to be bigger, so you zoom in, now the panda gets bigger. It's cute, it's a nice photo filter. But now let's look at the difference between this using the newest AR tech. So now this panda's properly sized, and as the little girl blows out her candles, the lighting goes down. And now lighting may seem like a super fancy effect that none of you may care about all that much, but if you've ever seen a really bad Photoshop job, there's a good chance that the lighting was one of the culprits. In order to make a product look good, in order for it to look like it's been integrated, and that digital information has really been put in a meaningful and intelligent way, things like lighting matter, and scale matter, and where it shows up at first certainly matters. The next part of this is with the user's environment. So again, we're going to see two examples, and these basically will show you the differences of how the technology can understand and analyze the environment around it. So first example here, we have the little dinosaur that shows up on the table, recognizes the table, shows up on the table. But then when the user tries to move it, it can do things like walk through objects or potentially even walk out onto, floating into space, which is really cute for a pink dinosaur. But if you're really trying to create a realistic impact with a product shot or with a character or with a spokesperson, obviously them walking into thin air may be less than ideal. So again, here we're going to show AR with context, so where the AR is really understanding the environment around it. And you can move around the character to see sort of the different elements of the character in 3D. And then, of course, now, as you can imagine, as you're moving from the box to the floor, the character is bouncing around with it. So why does this matter, and where is it all going? Well, imagine for a second that in a few years, instead of having an OS on your phone or on your computer where you're launching different apps, the world becomes your OS. So you can point your device, whatever it may be, at things in your environment and then actually launch apps, launch meaningful digital information that's integrated into your environment in a smart and intelligent way. And in order to get to this vision, these building blocks that you're seeing here needed to happen. And that's why this is so exciting. That's why everyone's talking about it. Because the building blocks are finally here, and we're finally starting to integrate digital information into the user's environment in a smart, meaningful, and intelligent way. But now, I'm sure you're probably asking yourselves, what does this mean for me? I know most of you are probably marketers, and maybe you're not marketing dinosaurs or pink pandas or photo filters. So what can you do with this today? And I really think that it obviously goes back to a lot of the stuff that Tony and Julie were talking about with immersive storytelling, responsive storytelling, that these platforms are the best way that you can communicate with your consumers today using the technology that's available. But not only that, with AR, you also have scale. So most of you probably right now have in your pocket the technology to access true, deep, smart, intelligent AR. But the question becomes, how does the user actually access it? Just because the technology is there and the content and storytelling can be created, how can you get there? I think what this really boils down to is, can AR ads run in non-AR content? And we would say theoretically, absolutely. Unity has 1.2 billion people every month that are super engaged in the content that they're in. They're in games, they're used to interaction with responsive storytelling. That's what they're doing every second that they're inside of that app. So why not integrate an AR layer? Why not show an AR ad that would be more immersive and would continue what they're already used to with responsive storytelling? But the question becomes, technically, is this possible? And so what I'm really excited to announce today is that the answer is yes. So Unity is basically taking the power of our content creation engine and the scalability of our ad product and putting them together to create true immersive deep AR that can help analyze your environment and integrate digital information in a smart way at scale across our interactive content that we have today. And so I'm going to leave you with this. Since you're all marketers, you've seen the evolution of all of the different ad products. Obviously, sort of before our time, newspapers, radio, television, and then within most of our careers here, we went to digital, to mobile, and now to AR and VR. And the reason why all of this matters, again, comes back to the fact that we're now in the next stage of advertising, and it's more immersive than it's ever been before with AR and VR. So we're really excited about joining this revolution, starting it today, and we obviously hope that you will all come with us. And with that, I'm going to bring Tony and Julie back on stage, and we're going to do some questions and a quick panel.
If anyone has questions, write me down. Great job, Ag. So I'm going to start on the heels of Agatha. You talked about light versus real AR. So what does the launch of ARKit and Core mean for light versus real?
Yeah, so those technologies, in addition to, of course, the amazing work that we all saw with HoloLens and with MR, help create an AR or help create content where it's relevant and logical in the environment that you're in. And it can be personalized, and it shows up correctly. And again, we're now just starting to see this evolution. So really, it's going to become more and more exciting. But even today, you can really help tell your story in a way that's going to render the creative and everything else in the way that you would imagine. So why put a sticker on something? That's something that you could have done 5 years ago. Instead, you want your character to feel like they're talking to someone inside of the room that they're in.
And what will that mean for scale?
Yeah, I mean that's the exciting part. So there are definitely lots of projections that the vast majority of phones by the end of this year, or certainly by the end of next year, are going to be AR compatible. And with Unity's technology, with the ability to do true, deep, immersive AR inside of all interactive content, which is basically everyone has at least one interactive app on their phone today, we'll actually be able to reach the entire mobile ecosystem in the next few months.
Cool.
But we actually, can I chime in?
Yes, please.
Is that all right? Am I allowed to speak?
I'm moderating, you be careful.
Okay. We all know where this is going though, right? So this is wonderful. This is a phone. I don't have it in my pocket right now, but this is wonderful to be able to do this, but this, after 10 seconds, 30 seconds, you're gonna get tired of doing that, right? And we all know this is going toward more like something like a HoloLens at some point. There's some device on your head like that are cool glasses that actually look cool, or as Agatha said, I don't know, maybe it's contacts in a couple years or straight to the brain. So the form factor will change, but developing for the immersion now to hit those phones even for the 10 to 30 seconds that you're going to do that AR experience before your shoulder gets tired is the way we're going to get there. We're going to get to scale using these technologies that we have now, but we're also building for the future, so we're going to understand how to do even more as these devices get lighter, as you can do more extended brand experiences for longer periods of time.
Okay, so you talk about brand experiences. When you think about many of the folks here sit on the publisher side or they sit on the agency and brand side, who's going to be building all of this amazing immersive content?
Take that first.
Yeah. Yes, so I think as with anything, at first we're going to start with the most kind of creative shops, also publishers like Unity, obviously with the virtual room example that you guys saw with Jigsaw, that was in deep partnership with us to help bring that to life. And then over time, certainly we hope to get that into the hands of everybody. So, if you're in a world where everything is starting to be 3D, you need creation tools that are also in 3D, the same way that we all have, photo editing tools probably on our computers somewhere, or video editing tools. So to start understanding what it's like to create responsive storytelling in a 3D world, you'll need tools like Unity in order to get there. So we'll start small, and then it'll probably be pretty prevalent that we'll all be thinking this way, hopefully, in the future.
And it's amazing what we've been seeing on that front, that a tool that was designed for game development has moved into this area where it's being used for a lot of creative development now. Most of the action's happening in boutique studios that are making their mark, doing VR, AR, MR development right now, like the Rewinds of the world, Ignite, who created the brand experience for Audi. It's not these large agencies yet, though they're starting to really perk up and take interest. So it's those boutique agencies, production studios, Framestore, Technicolor's, a long list of those who are good at creative development are now taking that from, say, either their VFX world or what they were doing in Flash and then mobile into Unity now, and it's pretty amazing what's happening kind of organically. And part of why we're here is a conversation to also meet the creative side of the house, not just the advertising side, but the folks making the content to talk about our tools and what they're capable of, because they're truly amazing things and being used in ways we didn't intend a few years back.
Any questions yet, or should I keep going?
Yeah, questions if you got them.
Okay, we have one here.
So, core barriers to entry right now is the cost for HoloLens. When do you foresee the actual headsets and glasses coming down in cost so the average user can afford it?
I'll repeat the question for those in television land. So a big barrier to entry right now for mixed reality is the price of a HoloLens. Retailer about $3,000 right now. And when do we expect the cost of those things to come down to the point where we could do glasses-based augmented and mixed reality instead of the phone-based stuff? That is a great question. I don't have a ready answer for that. If anyone wants to chime in, we'd be spitballing.
Yeah.
I mean,
just look
the
at
Lenovo Mirage thing retails for $200. So that's already, it still does use a phone, so it's not a standalone, but it is, there's certainly, they're trying in the marketplace to get there, I guess.
Yeah.
So our
go ahead,
CEO has coined this phase of AR, MR, the gap of disappointment. And it's the point where every marketer and Wall Street writer is so frothy and excited about the potential, but yet the reality isn't there. And that reality is devices are too expensive, there's not enough great software, and there's not scalable economies, okay? So I am gonna take a moment to put a little plug on our company in the sense of, we're solely focused on the people who build in our development platform having an economy, which is one of the most important factors of why we would encourage you, if you're invested in this space, that really there's no other way to get scale when you have a $3,000 device and only a few 100,000 people on it. You also want all the other platforms that touch that same immersion. So we won't give you a forecast on the exact answer. I think actually Unity, we're not allowed to, because all of those partners are so important to us. However, we would just remind you, this is not new. How many years did we call mobile the year of mobile? I think we called it 8 years in a row. So the great news is we learn from mobile. I was actually rethinking when I saw the Smurfs. Do you guys remember, well, you're a very young audience, but I can remember great brands like Burger King building Xbox games and then having to spend, tens of millions to distribute the game that someone played for 7 minutes. And then this great thing called Xbox Live happened, and Burger King got to do downloadable content in every Xbox app. And so I think what we've learned is we can't wait a decade for the Xbox Live of MR, and we need it right now. You need to be able to do immersion at scale, and that would be our biggest guidance is, let's learn from, remember everybody built a mobile app? I mean, every brand built their own mobile app, and then no one installed it. And then they had to spend a ton of money to install the mobile app. So I think we want to learn for MR from the past, which is, it's really hard to pull off building your own standalone content. And maybe if you're at Le Mans, that is it's a pop-up experience, so it's well more than just an app, but it's hard to do. So that's my 2 cents. Any more questions? You go ahead.
Oh, there's a mic traveling around now. Here we go.
You go, I'll answer.
Yeah,
We'll get one on the left.
Sophisticated tracking
Sorry.
abilities, like eye tracking, things like that. When you have 3D products and like these kind of next level product placement types of deals, how do you think about things like viewability?
I'm going to have Agatha start with
Can we
that, because
repeat
this
the
is her.
question? Can we
Oh, yeah,
repeat-
Yes,
repeat the
I'll
question.
repeat the question. So the question is with eye tracking and all the new technologies, and you have 3D products and product placement in particular, how do you look at things like viewability? So our stance actually as Unity as a company is sort of on the other side of product placement, like the complete opposite side. We actually prefer to have essentially a blank canvas, like the virtual room, like a sandbox, where the brand can tell its own story, even if it's 15 or 30 seconds. And so you know it's viewable, you know the person has not just sort of looked at a product in passing, but has actually understood why they should buy it, or why this particular campaign is special or fun, or it's the holiday seasons or whatever. And actually be able to craft that on your own, and then integrate that in meaningful, logical ways inside of existing content. So while there's certainly a world for product placement, I mean, there's movies, TV shows, all of them have it. The math on it is it's usually sub 5 or 10% of all the advertising revenue. So while it certainly does make sense in certain places, I think when you're looking for viewability and you're looking for telling your brand's story, the better option would be this more blank canvas virtual room, and same with AR, where the types of examples you would see would be actually fully branded experiences, but they would be inside of either non-AR or AR apps in a way that you stop whatever you're doing, it gates maybe additional content, or it doesn't, it's opt-in, and then you experience the brand story completely standalone.
So to add on to that question, or take it a step further, because I think it was a great question about like eye tracking and such. How could a brand in their own contained virtual room do that with?
Yes, so that's another really great point. So with Unity Analytics, we're also in heat maps, so you can actually see whether it's an individual user session or usually a lot of times on aggregate, where someone looked exactly for how long, and you can see and measure that. So while you know that they've experienced the full thing, you may see, oh, they only looked at the video that I integrated into this experience for 3 seconds or 5 seconds. So you have all of that measurement, but you're guaranteed that the person has completed your story or your ad.
And it's more than just where they looked. I mean, that's useful on a 360 video perhaps, but if you have interactive content that's based on CG, then you can also understand what they looked at, what they touched and interacted with, in a positional and room scale VR, if you know what I'm talking about there, where they moved, which regions of the space they explored. So when you combine all those techniques, it's a different way of looking at viewability within the experience, and it's incredibly powerful analytical tools that we can start building.
Did we have another one over here?
Yeah, we did. This one's got a mic.
Hi, everybody. So I had a question. I think you showed some really great examples of brand storytelling and brand immersion, but I'm interested, how do you see MR redefining the retail experience?
I'm not touching that one. Tony,
Well,
that's
so-
you.
Hot one, I know.
So actually, Audi also invested heavily in a car virtual showroom that is now deployed in 100 dealerships worldwide, where you go into the Vive and you're looking at the R8 luxury car. You can look under the hood, you can configure options, a classic mobile car configurator if you've played with one, or web-based car configurator, but done in deep VR. There are mixed reality versions of it as well, so you can see the world around you, but then actually look at the car through a HoloLens. So that was super promising. Another great example, First Avenue Machine, an agency right here, just built a great thing with Sperry, the Docksider people that do the boat shoes, where they did an in-retail experience where they put a 360 camera on the America's Cup Oracle boat, captured a race, and then replayed it back with a custom controller, a platform you're standing on that's timed with the movements of the boat, and they're spraying wind and water at you. Unbelievable. So that is super fully immersive. That's very much experiential marketing. That's that's super high touch, not
next
scale.
question.
Right.
I'm going to finish on that retail.
We have,
jump to our
because we got 2 minutes.
Question.
Thanks,
Yeah. So the one thing I would say about retail, and we feel very passionately, is that this next phase of AR is basically like early days internet. Do you remember we used to say surfing, not searching? because we didn't know what to do. So we think the first massive phase of AR as it pertains to retail is simply discovery, right? So that's the surfing phase of AR. Question?
3D model database today.
Say that again?
What is the best 3D model database today?
You plug it.
I'm plugging my
He
friend.
set us up.
Well, which one? Unity Asset Store?
Yes.
You know about the Unity Asset Store? Yeah, so Unity creators can publish their assets, share them, they can distribute them for free, or they can get paid. They can sell you an asset that's everything from a 3D model to a full set of scripts, in code for doing things like flocking birds or other really complicated behaviors, and you can buy that for $20, $100. We'll take our typical online store cut of that. So we're a little biased, but we think that's the best repository on the planet for interactive 3D content.
My panda and dinosaur came from there, so that's a plug right there.
Yeah, and I went to the Unity Asset Store and made a piece of AR kit content to go with a piece of my wife's art for a show here a couple months ago. It took me like half a day. So big plug for that. We got time for one more, maybe?
Nope.
No, we're
Okay,
good.
so
All
I'm
right.
going to finish on the final one. Tony, you noted that we started in games. Can you just leave us with why did that matter?
We had to solve the hardest problems in interactive 3D content you can imagine. The game industry was the only industry, there were verticals using 3D real-time technology like computer-aided design, architecture, really high-end tools, really dedicated systems. But the video game industry is the only one that had the motivation to solve these problems at scale, where they had a business model to support it. Mass market entertainment content drove so much of real-time development. That's why.
That's why. You heard it here.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
Thank you.
Really good. We can meet outside if you have questions. Thank you.